Now, finally joining the show. I am so excited to talk to you, man.
The studio looks amazing, so I can't wait. I mean, when you make a play, all I want to do is scream and flex. I was loving every part of being that underdog and having that underdog mentality. You're in the big house, the crowd gets up and you get them going. You get that rush through your veins. Yeah. It's something that I desired. All we wanted to do was beat Ohio State. I think on and off the field, I really crossed off all the boxes.
Welcome to episode 4 and the finale of Hutch, brought to you by PFF and presented by Cash App. The crescendo of the Aidan Hutchinson experience, the big Ohio State win, the Big Ten championship over Iowa, and finally the preparation for the 2022 NFL Draft. We talked to numerous draft analysts, media, and everyone a part of Aidan's story as we close things out and enter the 2022 NFL Draft.
The Hutch podcast is brought to you by Cash App. Cash App is the easiest way to send, spend, and save your money. You can send or request money from your friends when they owe you for dinner, drinks, literally anything. Besides just sending money back and forth, with Cash App, you can invest in stocks with as little as $1, as well as buy, sell, and send Bitcoin instantly. It's really that easy. Cash App also lets you design your own debit card completely free to spend money anywhere you'd like. Cash App will laser print it and mail it to you all for free. And the card comes with free discounts at your favorite places called Boosts. Sign up for Cash App today using referral code HUTCHPOD, which gives new users $15, and Cash App will set aside $10 for each sign up to go towards the Chad Tough Foundation. The more people that use the code HUTCHPOD when registering not only get $15 for free, but you're also helping support the Chad Tough Foundation. The Chad Tough Foundation funds the most innovative, promising research on DIPG, which is underfunded compared to most cancers. The mission of the Chad Tough Foundation is to inspire and fund game-changing research to discover effective treatments for pediatric brain cancer, with an emphasis on DIPG. Download Cash App on the App Store or Google Play Store today.
Talk about this week of practices after, because I've talked to some of the players about it, and they said you guys came out with reckless abandon here. It was a couple of cannonballs. What was this week of practice like going into Indiana?
Yeah, I mean, myself, I took a big, deep look in the mirror, and I was trying to improve every parts of my game that I could, because I knew if I could, improve my game, this much better, I could help the team out. So, I mean, I remember starting on that Monday. I was like, usually Monday is like kind of like a walking day, and it's kind of like a walkthrough.
You had shells or?
No, we're just wearing our jerseys. Okay. But I was sweating pretty hard because I was really trying to I was watching the Michigan State film, and I wasn't completely satisfied with it. So I was really just, I was chomping at the bit, and I was just getting after it. I think that's how it was for our whole team, is everybody focused on themselves and focused on, how to improve from that Michigan State game. And I think that led to our team just improving.
One of his big messages was, hey man, don't look for excuses. Don't look at the negatives. If anything, make the negatives positive, try and translate that to the next week, because there's no going back. We can't change what the refs did. We can't change what we did. Can't change any calls the coach. No more excuses. You're looking forward. And I think, as soon as he said that translated throughout the whole defense, even throughout the whole team. And you could see it in the next week for practice, man. We were on it. We ain't come out slouching and crying. And, we did what we had to do.
I don't remember who said it in our meetings, but it was Mike Morris. He was saying that somebody has to pay for like how we feel at the Michigan State game. And we went out against Indiana and just like killed. We dominated. So, yeah, I remember that very vividly. So, it was just really, it kind of like awoke us, kind of like, so we didn't get complacent, kind of like a wake-up call. We responded very well.
It was a bad week to be an Indiana Hoosier. say that. You come out of this game, it's a blowout win. You got 6 pressures, 85 plus PFF grade. I mean, this was a dangerous day to be an Indiana Hoosier. Did it feel like vengeance then? I know Indiana's no Michigan State, and I know it's not a 1-for-1, but was everyone kind of going into that game looking to kind of like put that taste out of their mouth?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the theme going into that game was somebody's got to pay, and you know, I mean, we weren't feeling too good about ourselves. So, you know, if you get punched in the face, you got to punch someone back. So that was definitely our mentality going into that, and yeah, I think they had like a third string quarterback who was actually good, but you know, he's so young, and you know, we had a good day defensively and offensively.
The following game is a tough one, right? You go on the road against Penn State, and that was another opportunity, in my opinion, where it's like, hey, this is it, right? You lose to Penn State, there's no Big Ten championship. You know,
right.
You lose to Penn State, it puts it that much more doubt into beating Ohio State and all that stuff. You go into Happy Valley, it's not a night game, right? It's a 12 o'clock kick,
game.
But it's a slow start for the offense. I think it's a slow start overall. The game kind of is a grind, but there's this key moment. I think you guys are like, they're tied up or something along those lines, and there's I think Cade fumbles, I believe, and they have the ball inside the 20-yard line. Yeah. And that you go back and watch that game. That's the drive, right? Yeah. Like if you guys give up a touchdown there, right. I think a lot is different. I honestly think a lot is different. Instead, you hold them to a field goal. I just talking about that drive specifically, I do think that was a big key moment in the season. Yeah, I mean,
when they got that strip sack on Cade, I mean, you could feel the momentum. I mean, I talk about momentum, there it is. And you could feel the crowd starting to get into it more because they were smelling some blood in the water. And, you know, we went out there and we went 3 and out and forced a field goal. And that was definitely one of the biggest drives of the season because, you know, if we had let them score, who knows what would have happened after that. But, I mean, we made 3 huge stops defensively, forced the field goal, and then Cade threw to Eric on that little drag across the field, scored the touchdown. And then we got another stop at the end, 4 and out to win the game.
You're in Happy Valley, and it's a sack fumble. The defense holds them to 3 points. Yes, the Penn State takes the lead, but being able to hold them out of the end zone at that point was a huge part of what this defense had been able to do. And a large part of that was Aidan Hutchinson. I know it was, David Ojabo that had a big play at that point, but his success hinged greatly on the attention that Aidan Hutchinson, and you mentioned the coach that was at Western Michigan, everybody had to account for Aidan Hutchinson. It didn't matter if it was first, second, third down. When they did that, all of a sudden it creates opportunities for other players. That was the impact that Aidan Hutchinson had, not just on the field, but as a leader to be able to come back against a team like Penn State and again, continue to reset that standard at Michigan.
I think being a defensive player, there are these times where you do have to have these key critical stops to win games. And that happened multiple times in this 2021 season. Do you want to be in those situations, right? A lot of people want the ball in their hands, right? The offense wants the ball in their hands. Do you want to be in these games? Do you want to be on the football field when it matters most?
I mean, definitely it's not ideal from a defensive perspective to be in that position, but I mean, it's game time now. Now it's time for the real players to show up, and I know that's my time to show up, and that was always when I did. And you know, that's I mean, definitely I didn't want to I don't want to have the defense in that position, but being in that position definitely fires me up because, you know, someone's got to make a play, and I'm very confident in myself to do that.
You know, every single time, you know, it's a passing down. It's an obvious passing down. I think there's one person that the whole team's watching, and it's Aidan, because we know he's coming, and I know damn well that the other team and the other quarterback knows he's coming too. And that is, you know, that's a feeling that, you know, I felt through the entire off season, just the pressure. And, you know, it's something you can't ignore as a quarterback, even when he's maybe not sacking you, he's affecting your movement in some sort of way. And, you know, I was just so happy to watch him get after someone else.
Before we dive into the game specifically, even the game week specifically, kind of similar to, you know, the line of questions I had about Michigan State, just speak to this rivalry, right? This is different. And I went to San Diego State. We got the Battle of the Beaches with freaking Hawaii, but it's nothing like Ohio State, Michigan. It really is like the land. It is what college football is meant to be. I think a lot of people, you know, the game lost its luster over the past 10 plus years when it was a lot more lopsided. But speak to, your experience with the rivalry, your dad's experience with the rivalry, all these stories that you hear from other guys that were playing there at Michigan, and just how important it is to the program and how important it is to the fabric of really college football.
Yeah, I mean, this rivalry just cuts a little bit deep for me. And I mean, I grew up losing to Ohio State as a fan. And, I think Ohio State definitely won more times than not. But, going to Michigan, I just wanted to beat them so bad. And I don't think there's a ton of guys on Michigan or Ohio State that understand this rivalry as good as me. I'm sure there are hometown guys, on both teams. But I just feel like, especially as a major contributor on the team, it just hit a little bit different, and I was so ready for that game. And in the game, it's not as gritty or dirty as that Michigan State game. I just feel like there's a little bit more hatred, because when we had that bus ride to Columbus in 2018, I mean, everybody and their mothers were flipping us off as we were driving to their stadium, and that's what I knew as a freshman. I'm like, oh, this is for real now. Like this is what this is. It's about. I mean, every single person that we passed on the bus ride there was flipping us off. And so I think, I don't know. It's kind of hard to compare the rivalries because the Michigan State one is gritty, but the Ohio State one, it's real. It's
pure.
It's pure, and it's like. We went to East Lansing in 2018 too, but it wasn't the same as going to Columbus. Like this rivalry is just on another level, in my opinion. And so in 2021, that was the mindset, and being this guy I've kind of had this scar tissue for a while about Michigan State or about Ohio State. I was definitely trying to give people some knowledge on what I've been through a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you've been it as a fan, right? You've been it with your dad. How does your dad talk about Ohio State?
Probably similar to how I am. I mean, he had a different experience though, because he was beating them every year. So it's definitely different. And kind of with me and my experiences, they had a 10-game win streak on us. So I think, we kind of had different experience with Ohio State, but I'd say we'd say about the same thing though.
Ohio State was a little bit different. And as talking to older guys, everybody has a little bit of a different impression depending on what your class, what area you were in. We had a little bit more of respect, if you will, for the game. But it was still, it was everything laid out on that field, but it wasn't this disgust, hatred. I mean, again, I played against the John Cooper era, so, we had lots of success against Cooper teams. But it was more of kind of like the Notre Dame. It was a huge rivalry, but there was still this little bit of respect, if you want to call it that, for the game, for the, for what this means for college football. Because the Michigan State game is this in-state brawl, which if you don't live in Michigan, you probably don't care about. But the Michigan Ohio State game is this national affair that has, implications for the Big Ten championship almost every year. So that's where this sort of grandiosity of that game sort of takes over. That doesn't mean that things weren't nasty, that's for sure. But it was a different sort of rivalry game for sure.
Well, you get into this game. I remember I was in Ann Arbor watching from Scorekeeper. Shout out to the bar in Ann Arbor. I was watching from Scorekeepers, excited to see history, right? Everyone's excited to see Michigan. Everyone's rooting on Michigan. This bar, dude, Scorekeepers, is a sea of red. It's a sea of red. It's tough. They were getting OHIO chants out there. The rivalry had ran so lopsided that the bar itself was Ohio State dominant. But I'll never forget, they show on the broadcast the Ohio State coming off the bus. And they're dancing, they're jumping up and down, they're excited, they're on their high horse. It's like insane. It's like they are confident. Yeah. You guys are getting off the bus. I think you're one of the first people that they show come off the bus, and it's level-headed, pure, just focus. Yeah. And from there, I remember looking at our director of communications, David Safar, who also went to Michigan. Yeah. And he was like, "It's over." We both were like, "I don't know. This might be it. Might be time to start betting the other side," because it felt different from the bus. Yeah. And I think you guys came out with that confidence that this was a different year. Who else on this team? We spoke to a handful of players. David, Ross. He's got Brian Hawkins has been there forever. Who else on this team was sharing that mentality with you that you remember as leaders on this team getting off the bus, just knew that it was time for business and business that you guys would win?
Yeah, I think that was the message going into the week. Is it was no bullshit, no screwing around. I mean, we were just locked in one mission in mind. You know, we weren't coming off that bus dancing. We weren't doing any of that. We were thinking about this for so long. What are you going to do to beat Ohio State? The beat Ohio drill. I mean, everything that we implemented coming down to one day. And it is nerve-wracking when you think about it, but at the end of the day, we're just playing football, and this is a team that we just want to beat really bad. And we just wanted to come in with that focus and be as locked in as we can, because we knew that's what it would take to beat them.
Well, as we're talking about just the season in general and not being satisfied and looking for the next opportunity. I mean, every step of the way, I mean, it was like Ohio State. It's, it's there, and it built, and then it was finally there, and our team was ready. Had been thinking about it and been preparing for it.
I think especially this year we had in this weight room this big saying like, "What are you going to do today to beat Ohio State?" So every time we were working out, we were thinking about them and what would be the difference to beat Ohio State. So over this whole, preseason and workouts, we always thought about them, and you kind of like get brainwashed by like, you have to beat them and you got to do everything you can to do that.
That game was literally a movie. I swear it was a movie, like coming out the tunnel, warming up, then it started to snow. In warm-ups, and we kind of like let's get it. Like, it's time to go get it, man. And like the way that dude Aidan was out there, bro, playing and making plays, of course, but the way we was coming together on that sideline after whoever made they play and came together and got in our huddle on our benches and talked through whatever we need to talk through, like and motivated each other and had confidence and like, we about to do this.
So first half, I think it's 14-13. You guys are leading, but there's tempered expectations, dude. Michigan, I'm in this bar. No one's like calling anything.
Oh, no.
People have been in this situation before. Right. You guys, I think the offense is running the football very effectively. On defense, you guys are having some success, like slowing them down, limiting the big plays. And that was a big part of the game plan, I'm sure, right? You guys got to limit these receivers. Jackson Smith-Njigba, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, limit the big plays. And I feel that it's a job well done in the first half, right? Yeah. Is it over? No. Is it finished? Absolutely not. What was your guys' message going into half, right? Snow's coming down in Ann Arbor. Right. It feels like this victory is within reach. Yeah. Was it a step on throat situation, or what's the halftime rah-rah here? I
mean, we were in it at halftime. I mean, defensively, we were super happy with what we did. Only holding them to 13 for having like the number one offense in the country with all those weapons. I mean, we were extremely happy with that. And offensively, I mean, you just watch on TV, we were watching it on the screen. I mean, they were having so much success just running it down their throat. And I mean, there's just no other way that you want to be dominating that game besides that. So, I mean, it was so cool to see. And I mean, at halftime, it was all just focus, and we knew we were going to be in another battle for the second half. Like, it wasn't over, but we were like, these guys are beatable. Like, I mean, sometimes you walk in at halftime when we're getting beat against these guys, and it's like, oh, well, they're just better than us, or not necessarily that, but like, you just feel a little bit helpless when you're down, X amount of points. But I mean, we're leading at half, and we're like, we can beat these guys, and that was the mindset at halftime for sure.
And the game plan's working, right? Because were there significant adjustments that you guys made at half? It felt like running the football down their throats, limiting the big plays, like how you guys were approaching the game was working, and I think that can be like a special layer of confidence as well, right? Because sometimes you are only down one, or you're up three or whatever, but can feel like, no, we got to switch some things up. Someone gets hurt in the first half or whatever it is. You actually have this opportunity to be like, hey, what we planned on doing all week, what we planned on doing all year is working. And that has to be another layer of confidence for sure. That
was the mindset. I mean, we weren't changing anything. Defensively, offensively, we're all happy with what we're doing. And there was no special ingredient. There was nothing we had to change. We were just playing Michigan football, and we were winning, and so we're going to keep doing that.
When you saw them having to do 12 and 14 play drives to score, you were like, this is the recipe right here. You, as an offense, they can't stop you because of your run game, and you make them earn every single, that's great. If they keep going for it on first down, that's great. Guess what? They're still moving the ball. They're not scoring. You're not giving up these bombs. And hell, they made some great plays. Those receivers made some awesome catches. And you just have to tip your hat and say, you know what? That's awesome. Great catch. I had good coverage. I was right there. Let's suit it up next time and see what happens. And as the game went along and you realize in the second half that, you're waiting for this other shoe to fall of something's going to happen. We're going to throw a pick. We're going to fumble because this is just what happens. And the wheels are going to fall off the wagon. And here we go again. And it doesn't. And we don't punt a single time in the second half. And we get a stop or two. And you're like, holy crap, this is going to happen.
That Ohio State offense, that's about the best passing game I think the Big Ten has seen in a long. I mean, my gosh, the receivers. They've got they have 4 world-class receivers, and Stroud, like all Ohio, you plug him in and look what happens. I mean, he's a gifted thrower of the football, and you're just going, can we stop these guys? I mean, how do you just keep them from winning a game all by themselves? Well, you do it by bringing it the way we did. And hey, I know it was a real luxury. It was lightning in a bottle to have Hutch on one side and Ojabo on the other. That doesn't happen very often. But I'll tell you one thing, what I kept going back to before that game. We had a pair of edge rushers a couple years ago in Columbus, in Rashawn Gary and Chase Winovich, and they got snuffed. The Ohio State offensive line completely removed them from the game. And I'm thinking in the back of my mind, oh, my God, could they do that again? And thankfully, they did not.
So you come out in the second half, and that's where the stardom starts to hit, right? You are taking over. The offense is running the football well. You really start to pull away in this game. The multiple sacks. You beat your dad's record.
Yep.
That had to have been a special moment for you.
Yeah.
When you first broke it with the initial sacks, what was going through your head? And did you find him in the stands? How did that all go down?
So going into that game, I had 10, and I got the first one in like
that tied it, right?
Huh?
That
first one tied it.
Yeah.
And I got that, and I was it was early in the game. That was the first or second drive, and then I got the second one, and I realized that I beat him, and then someone told me that the record's 12, and then when I got the third one, I was sitting there and I was just like, what is going on? Like, because this is something that I had like talked about all the time. Like, what if I get 3 sacks against Ohio State? Like getting 3 sacks against this, that, and then I actually did it, and it was insane to me. But it was something that I was thinking about long before that day, and it finally came true. And in the biggest game of my life, and I showed up when it mattered the most.
That game, with that snow and that rivalry and that desperation from that fan base, definitely impacted the outcome of that game. And who provided the energy was number 97. Because from the very first possession, Ohio State was pinned back inside their own 5-yard line. They were just like, what's happening? They couldn't get the snap off. Michigan almost gets a pick 6.
Yeah.
Then Ohio State starts to put a little bit of a drive together. And then they have a false start. Looks like they may score a touchdown to kind of quiet the crowd. Then Aidan Hutchinson comes up with his first sack of the game. It was just a game that, again, he set the tone. It wasn't just about the individual record. I'm sure he'll be proud of that, knocking off his dad, and being able to win that. It was, again, what I said earlier. Go back and watch that film. Watch how much him and his raw emotion coming on and off that field. It wasn't phony. It was genuine emotion. You just said, I'm coming back to beat Ohio State. And the way he played looked like a guy that was injured the year before and had a lot of motivation to get back. All those workouts and that rehab when no one's there, something's motivating you to get yourself through those dark days, to get back on the field because you have a dream in mind. And that dream was his dream. Yep. We just happened to all be watching his dream unfold. And he had a dream performance. And they were very deserving of winning that game and beating a very talented Ohio State team.
Were you thinking of your dad when you broke the record, or were you just more like in the moment? And
yeah, no, I was thinking about my dad. I mean, there was just so many emotions running through me when I did that, and I mean, I didn't even know, like, just with the fans and everyone in the moment and beating them and just that whole day was so special from a team perspective, from just myself. And when I finally saw him after the game, like it was just we definitely shared a little cool moment, like just being with each other. But me knowing that I finally beat him, something that he held true to his heart for a very, very long time. But that was something that was always on my mind.
It's one of the most dominant single game performances I think I've ever seen from a defensive player, right? You have, especially in college football, 15 total pressures, 3 sacks, like you mentioned, and it's just dominant start to finish.
Yeah.
There's also that one infamous play where you're calling out this offensive tackle for Ohio State. You're saying, give me everything you've got. Throw the chips, throw the running backs. It doesn't matter. I'm going through you. Yeah. What exactly do you say to that guy ahead of it? And then, I mean, no one talks about what happens after. This guy's got to peel his skin off the turf.
Right.
What, does he say anything then? Do you say anything after? That's one of the more notable plays of your career.
Yeah, I mean, it was Thayer Munford. He was super talented. I think he was like second team All-American. He was a really good offensive lineman, and he had moved to tackle in the middle of that game. So it was a little bit unusual for him that year. And I remember it was 4th down that play. I was looking at him, and I'm feeling myself a little bit.
You're having a game.
I'm having a game. I'm feeling myself, and I see the center go, and he points. That means the slide's coming my way, and I pretty much I'm looking at him. He's smiling in his stance. It's actually pretty funny. He was sitting there in his stance smiling. I was like, "Let's go, bitch! Like, let's do it!" And you can see me going like that in the film, and then the play happens. That was probably like one of the coolest things I've ever done in my life.
It was definitely the sickest thing I've ever seen.
It was just like calling your shot and then seeing it. Like, it was definitely. I felt really cool after that. It was cool. I wish I got the sack though, but then they converted to 1st down, and then I had to get up and then and then
still sick,
still sick, and then play more and then play 3 more downs. So
yeah.
Just like when I see him play the game, I'm just like, bro, like he's diving for tackles, he's clawing and scratching to get there. Nothing's gonna come in the way of this guy doing his job. So for me, like when I watch him, I'm just like, man, like this is crazy. Like that one clip that came up of him pointing at the Ohio State player and then went and knocked. I was just like, man, like that's Aidan right there. Like nothing's gonna get in the way of him doing what he has to do. So relentless, like that guy's a beast.
Aidan is one of those players that when Ohio State had the ball, everybody's worried about their 3 receivers. Everybody's worried about the all of the skilled players and playmakers that they have. But he had such an impact on so many games to that point. A lot of fans, me included, were simply watching Aidan Hutchinson to see what he would do against a couple of tackles that, people are talking about as next level players. Nick Petit-Ferrer, he's going to be a guy that's taken in the draft. How does Aidan Hutchinson match up against NFL talent, projected NFL talent? That's what everybody wanted to see in a game like that where it matters most. You've got to have your best players have their best moments in games like that. And Aidan Hutchinson, there were times where tackles, it looked like they were on skates, and they were simply a speed bump on the way to the quarterback, and they couldn't slow him down. I mean, if you look at their jerseys, not only are they dirty on the backside, and it's when I say dirty, it's all relative because everybody plays on field turf anymore, but they've got cleat marks on their chest because he would step on them on the way to the quarterback. His performance in that game was absolutely dominant.
Yeah, 3-sack performance, very well documented, but one of the great performances. I think it'll go down, for sure as one of the great performances against Ohio State in the history of the rivalry by either side. Right up there with Charles Woodson and Desmond Howard and Aidan Hutchinson.
when you're in the closing moments of this game, right, and you have to come up with some of these stops, and you have that big fourth down stop that obviously closes it. Yeah. Even before that, you guys are up so much, right? And there's part of me when I was watching the game, I'm sure you felt similar, like it's not over till it's over, right? There could not have been any moment in that game until the fourth down stop that you guys had where you felt like it was over. Yeah. What were some of the nerves like when you guys do have this lead, you're running the football so well, all this stuff? What were some of those nerves like? What was this like?
Yeah, that game, I mean, they just kept coming back. And I mean, CJ Stroud, I mean, he literally just kept converting these like 3rd and 20. It's like, I'm looking back, I'm like, come on, dude. I mean, they just converted that. I mean, they were converting 3rd down, 4th downs. I mean, it was everything. And it looked like they were like, trying to come back and coming back. But I mean, our offense kept responding. And, we were getting these stops on defense. And I think it was about 8 minutes left in the 4th quarter. And I was looking at it and I was like, you could feel it a little bit. Yeah. You could feel it coming. You could feel that wind coming. And I was sitting there, I literally started crying with 8 minutes left. And just because so much had gone into it, so much like mental energy, so much, I mean, literally all the pain, all the scar tissue I got from watching them as a kid and then losing to them twice in college. And then, all the focus we put on them. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, we did it.
Knowing this game has been 12 years in the works. And here's my brother. This is like the final countdown. This is his senior year. This is it. It's his last chance to beat Ohio State. And honestly, watching that the whole game, we were shaking, we were crying, but it wasn't until probably the last 10 seconds of the game, we were like ugly crying. Like we were like, our faces were contorted. We were there. We had tears streaming. We were red. Our mascara was dripping down our face. We were like, is this real?
They had been kicked around. They had been bullied. They'd been scorned by their own fans. They had a national reputation of a team that couldn't win against their biggest rival. And it goes back multiple generations of college football players, as you said. So for Aidan to come in, put the work in, and then in his crowning season, be a part of that team that beat Ohio State, that got the Big Ten championship, and the way they did it, physically dominating them.
When you start to see, you win, right? You get this big win, the fourth down stop, all that stuff. Ann Arbor's going to be storming. It's going to be an insane, surreal experience. What's initially going through your head as literally the big house is being stormed, right? What's going through your head? You're in the middle of the field, all that. What's going through your head? Yeah,
they got the slow-mo clip of me crying and this ugly face. I'm like,
no one's a pretty crier. Okay?
I know. I mean, it was a little nasty of me crying in there, but I knew they were going to storm the field if we won because that's what because we all talked about it, and I had never been a part of like a field rush, and I'm just sitting there, and you got the crying, boom, boom. That I see all the fans come in, and then somehow my family gets to me,
which I still don't believe, by the way. Like, how the hell does that happen? Like,
I don't even know.
In a field storming to get to you that quickly is kind of insane. I mean, it speaks to the athleticism of the family, really.
No, for sure, and I didn't really move much, and so they sit behind me, and they're on our sideline. So I think they just jumped down, and I really didn't move a whole lot. So I think that's how they got to me really quick, or they're just extremely athletic.
Yeah, personal. But so you get with I think it's your sister, your mom. Yeah, they're there, and you take this like infamous picture that is just selfie. Like the selfie is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Like this sea of maize and blue, and it's a bunch of fans just like staring up at your camera. 6'6", 5'8", not 6'7".
That's right.
6'6", 5'8". You're holding this camera shot up, and you take this picture, and it's just like still got like tears going down your face. Yeah. It's such pure enjoyment from your mom and your sisters and all that. I mean, do you even remember it all? Like it had to have been like a blackout out of body experience.
It actually wasn't. No, I remember it all, and taking that picture. I mean, just trying to get through the crowd. Yeah. The people on the field were just crazy.
Dude, the fans had been insane.
The fans were unreal. And that was the loudest game I ever heard in my life. Like them being there and like at the big house, it's the loudest. And I've confirmed with some people that have been there for like some guys that have been working there in the media. And they say like, that might be the loudest we've ever heard. Wow. Like that stadium. Just because it was something, it was legendary.
When a player shows you his heart and shows you what it means, and lets you see in a window all that's gone into it, all that's led up to it, and then all that it means. And you see a grown man crying on the sidelines. The family was. I just thought it was a beautiful scene, and I will never forget those pictures of Aidan letting that emotion out at the end of the game, because it was one of the visual snapshots of the season, and I think will remain for me, when I think back of years covering the sport, one of those special views.
What do U.S. News, PC Magazine, and Popular Science have in common? They all ranked Simply Safe Home Security as the best home security of 2021. In fact, U.S. News just named Simply Safe the best home security of 2022. Simply Safe has freed me from worry and given me peace of mind while I'm out traveling or visiting teams ahead of the draft. Simply Safe protects your whole home around the clock, 24/7, every door, window, and room. It's backed by the best 24/7 professional monitoring in the business, ready to dispatch police, firefighters, or EMTs to your home. Simply Safe is less than $1 a day, and you can set it up in around 30 minutes, and it's always simple to use. There's never a long-term contract. You can even try it for 60 days risk-free to see if you like it. If you don't, send it back free of charge. There's nothing to lose. Simply Safe protects over 1 million homes in the United States alone. Check it out. You can customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplysafe.com/hutch. Go today and claim a free indoor security camera plus 20% off with interactive monitoring. Go to simplysafe.com/hutch.
I see it as so easy after that game to kind of have this hangover, right? And you guys got the Big Ten title. You guys got the Big Ten championship right after.
It's almost like it didn't even matter.
Exactly.
It's like I was so content with winning that game. I don't care what happens the rest of the season.
I mean, that's fair, but you have. So there is this like opportunity, right, for you guys to kind of like settle for this Ohio State win. Maybe you lose against a good Iowa football team in the Big Ten championship. But you don't, obviously. You have another, this game almost over after the first quarter. Yeah. What was that week of practice like then?
I mean, it was not easy at all. I can remember being like Tuesday, you're still in the fog.
Gosh. The fog's not ending.
I don't think it has ever ended. It hasn't ended even yet. But like Tuesday, you're in that fog and you're just like that euphoric state. And like I was still in it. And it's hard to get out of it when literally you've been prepping for something for so long and then you finally do it. And it's like you just want to like, all right, I'm good now. I'm done. But we still had to play at a Big Ten championship.
I was petrified of Iowa. I didn't know. I mean, how do you play another game? Basically, you won the Super Bowl. And now you've got to go play another game, which is really their entire season. Because if you lose that game, great, you beat Ohio State, but you just lost the Big Ten championship. Exactly. And I know what Iowa's like. They are well-coached, fundamental. If you don't play your game, they will sneak up on you because they're going to make you earn it. And we were pretty heavily favored, and I did not like it at all. I was very nervous. I told Aidan the whole time, and he's like, Dad, we are focused. That game was emotionally exhausting, yes, but we knew that this was the next step. So it wasn't like we were surprised. Oh my God, we're in the Big Ten championship. They knew that was the next step. This is what they have to do. But still, as a dad being through this, you're like, you can't, if you lose this game, it really is going to tarnish that Ohio State game.
It was very hard prepping for that game, and especially you watch Iowa on film, and they are very talented, but their O-linemen are very skinny because they run that zone scheme. So those guys have to run very fast. So they're extremely athletic. But you look at them, and you're like, dude, these guys look skinny. Like we're gonna beat these guys. But Iowa's always like that. They're always what's the word? Deceiving in their looks because they are extremely talented, but sometimes you look at these old linemen, they're like super skinny, but they run really fast, and you're like, there's no way. But that's when we played them in 2019. It was kind of similar, but yeah, it was a very hard game to prep for. But at the end of the day, I wanted a ring, and I hadn't gotten one yet since being at Michigan.
So you guys win the Big Ten championship. It's a dominant game. A game could have been over after the first quarter, right? It was a very big win for you guys. Offensively, you guys hitting on all cylinders. You're ruining these skinny Iowa offensive linemen. you get the ring, right? And now you're in the conversation for the college football playoff, right?
Yeah.
Like this season's not done. Your business is not over. What was that celebration like with the Big Ten championship, and what'd you do after that game?
Yeah, I mean, at the Big Ten championship, it was like I felt like I was on top of the world. I mean, I felt like literally nothing could stop me.
Yeah,
and I think that's how we all felt because, we did this. It was something that we did and something that nobody thought we could do. People were projecting us to win nothing, and we won it all. So it's like in my mind, that's when our season ended.
Mm-hmm.
The playoffs was just a cherry on top of everything. But I just wish, it was just so great for us to beat Ohio State and beat Iowa. And, mentally, that's kind of how I remember the season finishing.
We had never seen Michigan do this. It had been so long since they beat Ohio State. They hadn't played in a Big Ten title game. Like, we didn't know what that week was going to be like. We didn't know what that letdown was going to look like. And so it was remarkable, again, just how focused they stayed and how they just took care of business. I covered that game. Was a little bit surprised to be assigned to cover that game because I also did not think it was going to be that close. And again, I think there's something to be said about winning the games that way. And, the Iowa was not a bad team. They were deeply flawed offensively, but they were still they were a team also that people didn't expect to be in that Big Ten title game, although they did earlier in the season. But there were still, the defense was still good and they still forced takeaways. There were still challenges that presented themselves. I mean, Michigan wasn't going to be able to sleepwalk through that, but to put the game out of reach in the first quarter, second quarter, whatever it was, and just, again, fundamentally put an exclamation point on the season that they had, on the regular season that they did, doing all these things that they hadn't done in so long or never had done because they never won a Big Ten title game. It's not just like a monkey off their back. They're like flinging the monkey off their back, doing these things the way that they did it.
This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Relationships take work. A lot of us will drop anything to go help someone we care about. We'll go out of our way to treat other people well, but how often do we give ourselves the same treatment? This month, BetterHelp Online Therapy wants to remind you to take care of your most important relationship, the one you have with yourself. Whether it's hitting the gym, making time for your haircut, or even trying therapy, you are your greatest asset. So invest the time and effort into yourself like you do for other people. BetterHelp is online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist. So you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. Give it a try and see why over 2 million people have used BetterHelp Online Therapy. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and Hutch listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/Hutch. That's BetterHelp.com/Hutch.
So you have all this time now to prepare for Georgia in the college football playoff, which is just like rarefied air. College football playoff hasn't even been out this long. You know what I mean? You're like, it's something that even hard to even create goals for or dream about. In this essentially like a month, right, of preparation for Georgia, what is your mindset? What are your goals? How are you guys maintaining just like high energy through this preparation?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there were any new goals. I mean, we were just surviving and advancing. That was kind of what we were doing, and then we made it to the playoffs, which was a big feat in and of itself. And yeah, I mean, the preparation was kind of, I was doing a lot of the award things going into that for that first week of off we had. I was doing like the Heisman and some of the other awards, and then we kind of dialed in, and I was practicing really good. I was feeling really good about the game, and the preparation was great.
That game, there's a lot of Twitter fodder that you don't have a good game and you get silenced from the Georgia team, and like it's not no one you guys don't live up to expectation or move past it. But when you really turn on the film and you look at just how often they're running quick game, how often they're getting the ball out quickly and running away from you specifically, you do see a lot of like tip your cap type of respect to you and just the defense you guys had. And I was talking to Jamari Salyer, one of the offensive tackles for Georgia. He says, our big thing was not going to let him beat us. We're not going to let these, Ojabo and Aidan beat us. And did you feel that in the game? Did you feel like that there was a game plan, right? This I think of all the games we watched last year, they put together a very good game plan to limit you and David Ojabo specifically.
Yeah, they did, and you could tell that was their goal. Yeah, just being in that game. Sometimes you're in a game and you sometimes feel a little helpless, and that's kind of how I felt. Like I'm just trying to do everything I can to help the boys win, but I just couldn't really affect the game. And I think from that game plan perspective, they really did a good job of focusing that game plan and really surrounding it all around just to not let me do anything. Yeah. And in terms of the quick game,
frustrating.
Oh, it was pretty frustrating. It was very frustrating because obviously on that big stage you wanna have the best game, but it doesn't happen all the time like that. But I thought I even watched the film after. Obviously you feel a little bit bad for not making too many plays, but then I watched the film. I'm like, I like how I played. I thought I played a pretty good game. Obviously there's always a couple plays that you want back, but I thought I played a good game. But Georgia just game planned me, and they found ways to take me out of the game.
You know what? They made a concerted effort and said, Aidan Hutchinson, you're not going to beat us. I mean, Aidan, outside of one play where he got his feet tangled up, I mean, he was making dudes miss left and right, but the ball's coming out in less than 2 seconds, and there's not much you can do.
Yeah, I laughed. I mean, I talked about that on the podcast with Bucky when I got the chance to first watch that. It's kind of one of those things where you hear about a movie and then you go watch it and you're like, did we see the same movie? Like, what are you talking about? So, and I talked to Aidan about it as well, because I'm looking at this going, okay, you schemed him, and I'm talking about chipping him, doubling him, quick game, which you mentioned. They moved the pocket away from him. And then on top of that, they held the living crap out of him. There was like at least four that you could have called in that game where he got held. So, and people say, well, he didn't impact the game. Yeah. When you dictate exactly how many different resources they have to use to try and slow you down, you are impacting the game.
So, well, chipping with a tight end and a running back isn't going to be enough, and they definitely added the quick game, get the ball out of the quarterback's hand fast. And they made some incredible plays. You got to really give a lot of credit to Georgia. I mean, throws, catches, some, and didn't make a mistake the entire game. But no question about it. You could see the respect on the tape.
Let's talk more about the Heisman ceremony. It's something that everyone dreams about, right? It's something that everyone wants to get to in their career, in their college careers, and you actually get to get up there in New York. You're there with Pickett and Stroud and Young, and how insane of an experience was that? It had to feel surreal to be a part of that ceremony and be in the Heisman conversation.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. It still doesn't feel real. Yeah. Just to say that I'm a part of that club now. Just because you grow up, you hear about Chase Young even as a Heisman finalist, and that's just crazy to hear. But the fact that I even came in second place, and I was so close to winning it. That's wild to me. Mm-hmm. And something growing up, definitely, that I always watched the ceremonies, and I was kind of I was always tuned into that, and you always hear about the Heisman, and it was something that when I got invited, I was like, holy crap, like this is insane. And I was just so fortunate to be in that position because in order to be at the Heisman, you got to have like a good football team. Mm-hmm. You got to be winning. And, I think it was definitely a full team effort for me to get there.
It's almost impossible for a non-offensive player to win the Heisman. That's how it is. Like I remember it's about a dozen years ago when Ndamukong Suh was incredibly disruptive for Nebraska and put up amazing numbers. And he made a legit run at the Heisman. On a lesser, on a team that was good, but certainly not even as accomplished as his Michigan team was. I just think you have to have everything come together to get a Heisman season out of a defensive player.
Yeah, we definitely need a defensive Heisman too. That's I think the defensive players just get screwed out of a lot of opportunities. Mm-hmm. And, Heisman is just a quarterback / running back dominated award. And, I thought I had a pretty good case to win it, but I guess it wasn't good enough.
So when we're in this, I want to make this transition now and kind of tie a bow on the 2021 season.
Yeah.
So we're in this now pre-draft process for you, which is just a totally different animal, right? In terms of reprioritization of what you're trying to do, new goals, new journals, all this shit. Like you have to do so much now as you prepare for the draft. And there's a lot of, conversation around you going number 1 overall. There's conversation around you being this top 3 pick, one of the best defensive ends, whatever it may be. Let's start with, how quickly after the Georgia game you get into training mode, and what immediately are your goals? I know you're training at Sport Academy in LA. What immediately are your goals there in LA? And I guess speak to the mindset shift, right? Like there's new goals now, right? Beating Ohio State, there's no more Ohio drills. There's none. It's time to go beat the 40 time and beat all these other things. But talk about that mindset flip and just how soon after all this stuff that you're just back to work.
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard because, you're full football mode in your brain. And then I got done. I took probably like 4 days, maybe 5 days. I was just chilling at home with my family. But and then I left for combine training. But it definitely took a little bit to reset those goals and to get in that mode. But eventually, you're kind of away from football for a little bit, and you know what's coming. That combine's coming up, and you got to run as fast as you can, jump as high as you can, be as strong as you can. So it wasn't too hard to shift those goals.
You would expect someone with the name, with that caliber, and with the projection that he had coming in, that maybe he would have been a little bit more difficult to work with. Maybe he could have been full of himself. But it wasn't. He was humble from day one. He was a hardworking guy from day one. And from our initial conversation, you could tell that this guy had incredible attention to detail. And that was one of the things that I was like, when our eyes first locked and we get in this first conversation, I'm like, okay, I really got to work with this guy. So it was he was taking it as serious as it could be. And I knew at that point that I needed to take him as serious as he was taking the process.
In this training process, right, I think you did even shift your diet further. You dropped gluten out of there. That's right. You're doing all this stuff. Yeah. How has that process gone for you? How are you feeling now?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I took one of those food allergy tests at Sports Academy, and gluten was one of them. Eggs was one of them. So I was off those probably about up until the combine. And then, now I'm eating a lot of gluten and eggs. But I think, I was just, again, with the kind of the theme of the sacrifices, I'm willing to do whatever it takes.
Just one of those guys that if you tell him, hey, this is going to be good for you and this is not, he's going to learn that very quickly, and he's going to do what puts him in the best position. He'll explain it as he doesn't want to be part of it, right? He wants to come in and be great at it. Mm-hmm. So those are the things that we kind of talked about. And so he's willing to do the things that put him in the best position for success. And, if that is drinking the best water, if it is eating the best quality foods, and those are the simple decisions that he was willing to make in this process.
You look back, I'm kind of going on a theme here, but you look back on all that you've accomplished and just, the position your parents put you in. I think it's surreal hearing, we talked about at the beginning of this, them putting you in all these different sports, them putting you in dance and letting you do whatever you want, as long as you give 100%, and your dad's so supportive, you don't have to wear my number, all this stuff. Right. And then you look back on it and it's like, dude, I hope you realize this. Like, holy shit, my parents are fucking insane. like what they've done for you is insane. And I think it's obviously it's not, job's not done. You're going to go on the NFL. You're going to continue to do great things. We're going to get a Canton. You're going to get a bust in Canton, the Hall of Fame jacket, all that stuff. Yeah. But when you look back on it, especially having the conversations that we've had today, like it has to feel insane, just the position that they put you in, and you have to feel just like a special level of gratitude for your mom and your dad.
Yeah, it's been a long road up to this point. We've tried a lot of different things in the past, but we made our way here, and where I'm at now, I'm in a great position, and a lot of that is because of the sacrifices that they've made for me. Growing up, that they've just worked so hard to support the family, and just to. Make the Hutchinson name proud, and just to care for me and my two other sisters growing up, and now I'm hoping once I get drafted, and once we move forward a couple months, I can pay a little bit back to them for all the sacrifices that they've made, and how hard that they've worked for my whole childhood leading up to this point.
both of us were kind of working together. And that was just an amazing journey. Chris was always front row with anything the kids did. It didn't even matter. I mean, whether Aidan wanted to do football or not, Chris was front row.
I wanted him to have fun, even no matter what he did, all the kids. When I said, whatever you're doing, if they're in dance, if they're in flag football, if they're in soccer, I don't care if you're any good, but you better try. And that's the most important thing. And next, have fun. But I never wanted him to feel the pressure of having to follow my footsteps. If he wanted to play soccer, have at it. If he wanted to, do dance, which is what we did with all the girls when he was in elementary and middle school, you know what? That's fine with me. As long as you have fun and when you're out there, you give everything you have. So, my wife and I gave him these sort of lessons and skills, and to his credit, he embraced them.
Whether it's Jacksonville, Detroit, Houston, whoever takes you at the top of the draft, I'm pretty sure Melissa Hutchinson will be at every game. I've put,
no doubt.
I've
no
put
doubt.
some, I've planted some seeds on maybe getting a bus, and we'll take the trip. Well, no, we'll see. We'll see how it ends up going out. Talking more specifically now about the combine, that experience had been pretty wild as well. This is essentially like a week-long job interview where you're billed as this freakish athlete, number 2 on Bruce Feldman's freaks list. There's a lot of high expectations, right? And if you're going to go number 1, number 2 overall, you have to show up athletically, right? Like you are trying to be drafted into a league of one of 0.0001% of athletes. A lot of pressure, a lot of build up into this. How do you feel like that week went for you in the testing specifically? And then I want to talk more about the interview process and all that stuff.
Yeah. Testing went great for me. It was definitely something that there are a lot of expectations going into it. I have all that hype of being, the number 1 prospect, some say, and, people expect you to live up to that hype and
run a 4.4 and all this stuff.
And it is, a little, it is a little nerve-wracking when you think about it. And it's something I really didn't think about because there's no need to. I really don't care about what other people think of me, or that's something that I've really adopted in these past few months. Is whatever people say about me is irrelevant. I have my beliefs and my core beliefs and what I think about myself. But going into it, I just wanted to hit all my PRs. I don't care what anybody says about me. I don't care what people think I am. As long as I hit my PRs, I'm happy. And I hit a lot of them, not all of them, but I was happy with my performance in terms of my really everything.
That's the thing when it comes to Hutchinson. I think on the surface, people look at him as like, oh, he's another try-hard guy playing off the edge. Oh, who can I liken him to? Oh, he's Joey Bosa. He's a new school version of Jared Allen and those things. And I think when you do that, you do underrate the explosive athleticism that this kid possesses and he displays. I mean, he is going to be a guy that runs fast. He's going to jump high. And when we talk about the shuttles and being able to change directions and those things, he is going to be at the upper percentiles of the testers.
There was a day where he came out into the field when we did a mock combine, and he was wearing his 40 cleats to do the change of direction drills. And it was funny because there was another newspaper there, and they saw him kept slipping. And I was sitting here and, he's slipping, guys are joking around. Everyone else that went through the mock combine is like all serious. And my guys are goofing. They're very close as a group. They were having a good time. They were laughing. And, I'm sitting there, I'm kind of embarrassed. I'm like, guys, like, why are you laughing? Like, this isn't funny. You're not finishing your drills. And, he tried to do the drills with just, he liked the 40 cleats. They're nice. But he slipped 3 times in a row. And so we scratched his 3-cone drill. And then, we just moved on, and he went and did the shuttle, and he scratched that one as well. And then he just walked off, didn't say anything. And like, Aidan, what's going on, man? He's like, I'm going to get my other cleats. So he goes, grabs his cleats, comes back, waits for everyone to finish, and then says like, hey, can you guys come with me and do this drill with me? Yeah. Okay, cool. He does the shuttle first, because that's the drill that everyone was at. That's where we ended. And does the shuttle and hit a 4 flat.
My God.
And at the combine, he hit a 4.15. The numbers, so we have 2 guys timing. There was a 3.9 and a 4 flat on that rep. So obviously unofficial, but there. then we went back to the 3-cone drill. Les Spellman, our other speed coach, and, you know, someone who typically has like say he has a slower hand, you know, so he's not going to give anybody an inch, and I'm definitely not going to give you an inch. So, but to see him go through the 3-cone drill, the first time he hits it, I look at my stopwatch. Les looks at his stopwatch. We both jaws drop, and he goes, "I got a 6.4." He didn't say it out loud. He's like, "I got a 6.4." I was like, "I got a 6.5."
What are your PRs on hand times or in training for the 40, the 3-cone, these different drills?
The 40, I was hitting handhelds at everywhere, kind of in the 4.6s. It was always that. So I never knew how that was necessarily going to equate, you know, with the combine lasers. But yeah, and then in the 3-cones and the L cones, yeah, that one day, I was slipping everywhere. Yeah. And I grabbed the cleats, and I think in the 5.10.5, I ran like a 4 flat, which is like pretty crazy. And then in the L cone, I ran like the 6.5 or something like that. 6. I don't even know. I didn't have the timer. They didn't tell me that much. But I mean, it was. Those were definitely my PRs. But yeah.
In the combine interview process, you get this chance to meet with, you know, pretty much all 32 NFL teams, and you have a lot of these questions, right? They get you on the board, they have you running X's and O's. How did those conversations go, and what was kind of your major takeaway from that opportunity to like actually, you know, tell teams who you are?
Yeah, you know, that's the easy part for me. The combines, the interviews, talking football. I'm a pretty easy person to talk to, like non-football too. So that whole process I thought it would be harder. I thought they were going to ask me, you know, different things, but in terms of the things that they asked me and the football questions, I mean, I think I did very well on all those. And obviously, I guess I won't ever know, but I felt like very good about them. And, you know, those things come easy to me.
I mean, I think one scout maybe put it best when he told me he's the long lost Watt brother, just in terms of how they attack the game of football, their preparation. You know, they're all in, and you know, with Aidan Hutchinson, it's the same type of thing. So this is a direct quote from Aidan that he had. I think it was from maybe last summer. He said, quote, "I'm willing to die for this. I swear I want it more than anyone. I promise." I kind of believe him. Like, I don't think that's hyperbole. I really do kind of believe him there. That's how he carries himself on the field, off the field. He wants it. And this is a guy that's very determined, very dogged with how he attacks everything, all of his goals. I mean, he was a finalist for the academic Heisman. So, you know, in terms of the academic part of things in college, he was all over it.
Are you planning to make the trip to Vegas for the draft? Are you going to be at home?
Yeah, I'll be Vegas.
Gotcha. Whole family coming out?
Whole family, and then some. So
Love to see it. Love to see it, man. Well, I've asked, this is where I wanted to end things. I've asked every single person I've talked to this question. I think it's over 40 people now, whatever it is. And they've all given a very similar answer, but I think from your perspective, I'm excited to hear it. What exactly is the NFL getting in Aidan Hutchinson on and off the field? What person are they getting? And then also the type of player that they're going to get between the whistles.
Yeah, you know, I think on and off the field, I really cross off all the boxes. I mean, you look at on the field, the physical ability is there. They're rushing the passer is there, stopping the run is there. But the most important part for me is you look, you know, off the field. You look at, you know, I think what I did and what me and all the leaders did with this Michigan team this past year was something that not many people could do. And I think my leadership and you know, what I can do, you know, with a culture is definitely something that you know, an NFL team would like. And you know, I definitely wouldn't be too vocal as a rookie. I'd be quiet, and I'd just be setting the standard with my example. But I mean, I think they're getting a complete player on and off the field.
Well, I think people see the tape from last year and they see the effort and energy and intensity. I think that's what sets him apart, right? Like I was reading today, I think Matt Miller from ESPN had a draft comp of him of Jared Allen. I thought that's a good one. If you could draft Jared Allen, the former defensive end for the Minnesota Vikings and Kansas City Chiefs, would you do that, and would you be happy about it? Yes, you would. You would want Jared Allen on your football team every time.
Do not underestimate the length that he brings to the table and how important that is to go along with the quickness and how sudden, and then the intangibles, the leadership. He's not a guy that'll probably demand that right away. He's probably going to feel like he needs to earn that. But once he earns it, man, he's an emotional spark plug. Very similar to what JJ Watt and his brother are, to their teams. Like JJ's a little older now, but you go back to when he was in his prime, he's making plays and he's providing energy to his team. I just picture that for Aidan Hutchinson. I see him being not just a player that's going to be a really hard matchup because of his physical attributes. I think he's going to be an energy guy that the defense is going to be able to feed off of, which again, you can maybe count on one hand how many defensive linemen can provide that for a defense.
But all those, tremendous, all those key performance indicators, and I total them all up. And out of that whole group, TJ Watt, Jadeveon Clowney, Aidan Hutchinson, then JJ Watt, then Khalil Mack, then Joey Bosa, then Nick Bosa. If you took all of them, the 40s, the height, the weight. So, that's where you're talking. That's where you're talking in terms of the measurables. And any team that's looking to draft a player, they're really going off of three things. They're going off of talent, which is production, intangibles, and measurables. And they're going to be looking at a guy who checks every one of those boxes: talent, production, intangibles, highest level, talent, highest level, measurables, highest level. So it's going to be, he's earned to be the type of player that you build an entire defense around. And, everybody who gets him is going to be darn lucky to have him. I'm personally rooting for Detroit. I hope he keeps playing right here in the great state of Michigan, and we got him right down the road.
What are the journal entries going to look like going into the NFL? What are the goals, man? You've already crossed so many things off. What are the goals? And don't tell me, just be the best I can be. I need to hear some specific goals. I know you got them outlined.
I don't know if I can share that with you. You might laugh at me a little bit.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all.
I got some in my journal, and they're in there for a reason, so no one else can see them.
Gotcha.
And, just know I got some lofty goals, and, I'm hell-bent on achieving them.
Well, hell yeah, man. I'm excited to see you cross them off.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
You're listening to Hutch, a 4-part podcast series brought to you by PFF and presented by Cash App. This podcast is hosted by Austin Gale, myself, and executive produced by Tyler Mowbray and Aidan Hutchinson. David Sofaro, PFF's Director of Communications, is responsible for all interviews in the podcast. Video editors are Mike Quinn, Tyler Sobchik, Ryan Richardson, Ethan Hornsby, and Stone Rochelle. Radigan Sports, specifically Ryan Henderson, Jenny Cronin, and Alex Radetsky, made this all possible. Mia Hutchinson on as a content producer, and Melissa Hutchinson as a creative assistant. Sponsors are Cash App, Simply Safe, and BetterHelp. Sponsors lead, Connor Price. Thanks for listening.